Hey, what's up, y'all? We are getting all up in Tommy's business in episode 6, season 1 of Training Day.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
There we go.
You gonna do the...
TK. I see you.
This is Al's pick for today. If you guys have been following me, you know I'm a little bit, this is the anniversary, 20th anniversary of Biggie's death. So this is in ode to Biggie, and also this is the whole time when he's coming back to California. You all know the history. If you don't know, look it up. There's a whole reason behind the method to the madness. What's up, guys? My name is TK Trinidad, and I am here along with my co-host
Al Gregg. How you guys doing? You can follow me at SoundClash and on IG at AlG_Jamaica House Film.
Are you shaking your leg or something?
Yeah, too much caffeine again.
Do I make you nervous?
You make me nervous. When you put on that necklace, you made me nervous.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, Emmanuel is not, or Camel Toe.
Young Camel Toe.
Camel Toe is not with us again this week. He's in some woman's house doing something with something.
Doing that thing. So he will be back, promise, next week. And like I said, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff at TK Trinidad. So, what did you think of this week's episode? This episode was fun. I was feeling a sort of way because obviously Bill Paxton passed,
right?
And I was wondering how that was going to impact me watching the show, but he always saves the show to me. He's just such a funny and charismatic actor, and I just fell right into it. It was a fun episode. It's TV fun, good TV fun.
Since I was aware of Bill Paxton. I kind of knew him from different things, but since he's passed away and actually saw all the body of work that he's done, I actually appreciate his acting more now that he's passed away, which is terrible. But all these little quirks and how he says certain things and how he's blending the seriousness of the matter with a little bit of humor and doing it in such a way where it's not cheesy, but it's like old man cheesy, but you still cool with it.
Yeah. That's
some serious skills.
Bill Paxton's a master of the one-liners too. Yeah,
so good. So let's get into it. The first part. The first part's kind of, there's a lot going on, and then it kind of streamlines, so thankfully for that. So essentially, Kyle's on this mission to find out who his father's killer is. So Frank says, what's his second wife's name?
Kolisha. The lovely Kolisha.
So Frank apparently was married to a woman by the name of Kolisha. And
he's down for the sisters.
Yeah, Kyle asked him, is she black? Because, we're not even going to get into all that. And he's like, no, but obviously she was. And she loved to watch. Anyways, long story short, Frank gave him this whole thing. But we actually get a snippet into Frank's life. So he was married twice. One of his wives, or his second wife, was a black chick. So, Frank's down for the
swirl.
For the swirl. So anyways, he pretty much tells Kyle that if he wants, because Kyle needs to come up with some dirt to let Lockhart know, because Lockhart wants to get rid of Frank. She's been hounding him for like 2 months. He hasn't given her anything, so he's like, Frank, I need something in order to get her off my back. I'm not learning a lot, but he feels like he's getting some headway to finding out who his father's killer was, and he wants to stay on the squad until he does, but Lockhart will pull him off if she doesn't get what she wants. So Frank says, you have to go and find it all yourself. So he gave him the one word, which was water. It wasn't Watergate. It was water something.
Waterhouse?
Waterhouse.
Double check my notes.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can help us in the chat.
Water sheet.
Water sheet, there you go.
So essentially, he gives him one word and he's like, here you go and look it up for yourself. So he goes and does that, and while that's happening, they're on stakeout to find out. They got a tip about this arm deal that was going on between the Black 23s and what was the other group's name?
They were a cartel.
Sinaloan cartel. So essentially, there's supposed to be this big gun buy between them. They were 25 M4s, machine guns, grenades, all this other good stuff for about $300,000. So there's going to be a trade-off between these two essentially gangs. So Frank, I don't know if they mentioned in the beginning as far as where they got this tip from.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know either.
There was a lot of stuff that was packed in the beginning of the episode that was just like, wait, what? So there might have been some tip. Let us know. I clearly missed it. So they got some tip, and essentially that tip, one of those the guns was the gun who killed Kyle's partner. Jennifer, I believe her name is.
Yeah, just to fill in some of the backstory, as we all know, Kyle's old partner, Jennifer Mitchell, she was killed when the police, her little crew of police, were killed in this setup, in this hit where basically they all just got shot, and and they've been ever since then not just trying to track down the killers, but they got a lead on the guns.
Right.
So they're saying the gun, as you mentioned, that killed his old partner was caught up in this whole gun trade ring.
So there's that all going on. So they get that tip, and they kind of essentially the Black 23s decide to double up. So they finally get the money, and then they shoot. It's just like
pull the jack move.
Yeah, the ultimate hokey doke. So they shoot the cartel, and essentially I think all of them. No, I think two or three got away, but they shoot the majority of them. And then as the cartel's getting away, Frank and the rest of the gangs pulls in the guys from Black 23. One of those members, so now, for instance, throughout all the episodes, we get to know everybody. So we get to know a little bit about Frank, we got to know a little bit about Kyle, a little bit about Rebecca. So I guess this episode is Tommy's episode. So in the very beginning, so to kind of backtrack, we found out that Tommy was a surfer. He grew up on the beach. You can just tell by his look, very beachy guy. And, he got into this major shark accident, and, he still surfs every day. And, he's a very reflective person, even though, I hope him and Rebecca get it on, but that's whatever. So it turns out one of the guys, so they start arresting all the guys from Black 23. One of the guys, which seems kind of weird. So him and Tommy, one of the guys, his name is Evan, him and Tommy are essentially rolling around in the sand.
Yeah, they're over there getting it on, you know, shooting the fair one, and so you immediately think, what's going on? So obviously they have a past.
Yeah, they have a past. So it turns out that him and Tommy went to school together. Do you want to get into that whole backstory?
I just like to fill it in. I like the backstory, they went to school together, they grew up together, they were boys, and obviously something happened, and we're waiting for that to be revealed.
Right. So, well, thanks.
Sorry. I didn't reveal it.
I know. I thought you were going to reveal it, but okay. So essentially, Tommy, like you said, Tommy and Evan went to school together. They also went to school with this guy named Luke. So they all went to school together. They were having an amazing summer, kids do. It's like one of those summers that it's just fun. It's on the beach, all this other stuff.
Amazing summer, breaking into cars, houses, all that good gangster stuff.
Well, I mean, they were also hanging on the beach and doing stuff, but at night they were doing stuff that kids weren't supposed to do, which
dumb-ish, as we say.
Which kind of wonders where their parents are, but whatever. So they were breaking the cars, all this other stuff, and Tommy had a little bit of sense, and he's like, I'm not about that life. You guys can go off and do it as yours, which is really good for a kid that age. They were 17. So Evan and Luke go, and they're robbing the surf shop. The guy comes out with a gun, shoots Luke in the back, and Luke is pretty much dead. So that's essentially why Tommy and Evan had some issues later.
Yeah, and because he thinks that Evan basically left his boy to die.
Right. But what else are you supposed to do? Which kind of how they set up the scene, though, it's like he looked back for a second, but there's enough of a hesitation there he could have got shot too. So I don't know. The guy, the store owner who shot Luke was far away, where it seemed like he was a good enough shot that he could have shot Evan too. Yeah. So I don't know why he didn't shoot Evan, but maybe he ran out of bullets.
Yeah, they definitely set it up as one of those things that could go either way. So it's hard to judge everybody that went, especially Evan. You see his side too.
I guess so. Evan should have got shot, but that would have been the end of the episode. So whatever. So that's the whole issue with them. So Evan essentially, I think. Did he get I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't say whether he got locked up for that or not, but he eventually gets locked up. And this is the part where I really empathize with Evan a little bit. Not so much for leaving his boy, but for when he got put in the pen, he basically, if you look at him, he's kind of a sucker. He's kind of lightweight, but he clicked up with the Black 23s for protection. Right. So ever since then, he was down with them, and that just, he's like, it's funny when they're talking later on, it's like, you think I wanted to, join this gang? Because when you look at him, he's kind of
there's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing scary about him. He's just kind of like this cornball who likes rock music and playing air guitar, so that's why I thought it was funny that he was in the gang.
But he needed it's either he was in the gang or he. Oh, now I'm getting all my shows mixed up. But he's either in a gang or he's somebody's. I think it was last week. I think it was last week's show where the guy, they went into the jail and they had the guy who was like cooking in his little underwear. Yeah. So
I don't remember that one. Yeah. I must have missed that one.
You didn't remember? He went into the last week. They went into the jail.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy who like essentially ran the jail, he had two guys. One who was like a bodyguard and the one who was like his chick.
Yeah, I remember. And I was like, why does this guy have his butt out in the camera? I remember saying that to you. So it's either he'd do that or, you know. Yeah, he was somebody's spouse inside. I don't know.
But it looked like, and of course, you know, you're the one who's detective by night. It looked like, from what I've seen from other shows, everybody clicks up according to race. And it looked like Evan was of Hispanic descent, and the Black 23s, they looked like they were like Aryan white.
Yeah, swastikas and everything.
So I don't know. I mean.
Yeah, I know sometimes there's some overlap, but yeah, I mean, generally in gangs, you know, the whites stay with the whites and the Latinos have their gangs, but yeah, you know, there's some overlap, I guess, depending on the circumstances. So
told you he would know.
It's TV, so we're gonna go with it.
Oh gosh. So he essentially hooks up with them, and it turns out the reason. So how all the guns came about? It was a double cross between the Black Threes and the cartel. So they essentially killed the cartel, and they were gonna resell the guns and make more money. Now, it wasn't the Black 23s who were the head of it. It was actually the head of the ATF, who is Detective Lynch. Is it Detective?
That's
or Agent.
Agent Lynch.
Agent Lynch.
He's in the ATF.
Yeah, he's the head of the ATF. So it turns out that he was using Black 23s to do all the dirty work, because obviously he can't be the person doing the dirty work.
And real quick, and his connect was Evan. That's who he was, getting the guns to go through.
Right. Was it Evan or was it the Black 23s?
It was the Black 23s, and Evan was like, I guess who he had the report with. They said he was his proxy. So I assumed that they said he said it was his proxy. So I assumed he went through him.
So essentially, Lynch he's been doing this for years. So it sounds like he almost got 3 checks. So he would have Black 23s sell it to somebody. I don't think I think you can only do that a few times before every gang realizes that this is okie doke. So he has them sell it to somebody, then they pull it back, they get the money, and then whenever they seize those guns, then they're supposed to burn them, and then they don't burn them, and then they resell them on the black market, which is how Jennifer got shot, because it was a black market gun.
Exactly.
So essentially Lynch is making 2 to 3 additional checks.
That's a crazy hustle, hell of a flip.
I mean, it just feels like, I forgot to lead off with one of Frank's sayings. There's another demon that attacks without warning you. It's your past. So, I mean, it's almost one of those things. I need to look up this tweet. Somebody else told me something crazy too. It's one of those things that if you do something dirty, like, no matter what, eventually it's going to be found out. It might not be found out in this period of time, but it'll be found out eventually. So, I really wonder how, what his game plan, his exit plan was.
Well, and the other things too is just to flip it back on our guys, on Frank and Kyle. It's like this whole time Frank has been playing the game to get Kyle to become more dirty, get more and more dirt on him too.
Do you think he was playing the game, or he was just trying to teach him the lesson of, I don't want to say real police work, but it seems like in order to get stuff done, you kind of almost have to live in the gray.
Right.
Because if you follow things by the book, then you might not get the guy.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, so here's the line that my friend told me today. When the clothes get washed, you will see the sin on the sheets.
That was a dirty one.
That
was a dirty one.
Weirdest friends ever. Actually, his coworkers. So
okay.
Not the friends.
Shout out to your coworker in the dirty sheets.
Yeah, I'll send that to him. Young Campbell too.
This is what I wanted to say. We were talking about, you were saying, Frank, obviously to operate in the gray area to get things done on the streets. But I don't think it's lost on Frank that in order to have Kyle's trust, you got to get dirty just like the rest of us. Which is why he's going through his phone, which is like mad foul. And, Frank doesn't do anything without a reason, without a purpose.
And also Frank knows that Kyle's wife is not getting laid.
Oh my God, you blew him up on that.
He's like, this vanilla, the sex thing is terrible. Like, Kyle, geez.
He needs to step his sex game up.
Step it up like a little bit above. Read 50 Shades of Grey or something.
Now, here's a question, just personal opinion.
Oh boy.
I don't want to put this on the actor, but maybe I do. I don't know. Is the character supposed to be that vanilla, or is it the way he's being played?
I I think,
and then what the actor brings to it.
Well, you can see how Kyle thinks of his father. Like, he thinks his father is this above board cop. He did everything by the book and all this other stuff. And no doubt it seemed like Billy was a really great guy and his heart was in the right place, but he kept that part of his police job away from Kyle.
If we believe Frank, yeah.
Right. So he kept that police job away from Kyle. So now Kyle's put his dad up on a pedestal. Like, my father's done everything by the book. He, was wrongfully killed. Therefore, I'm going to do everything by the book because this is how I'm supposed to be. So I think that's just his nature, because he's been a cop for a while. So, he's one of those people that if the police department required him to do something, he's going to do it because it's either protect the community or to protect the country or to protect whoever. But he's never been in a position where he has to do something, that's in the gray. He's kind of one of those lucky ones where.
Okay. Yeah, he hasn't been exposed. Okay, he's been coddled.
Yeah, not coddled. He was one of those lucky ones who got played it by the book. He might have went to high school. He probably did college. Probably met that chick. Joined the police force, and he's working up his ranks as a detective with the whole ultimate goal of finding it.
And coddle is the wrong term. I'm sorry, but you see, yeah, he was separated from that life.
Right.
And but just. We're hitting on another theme too of like the different paths people go down. Let's compare and contrast the path that Evan went down versus Tommy.
Ooh.
Hey, just saying. Those are the themes. The different paths that people go through. That's one of the themes in the show.
Well, it's definitely choice. The fact that Tommy was like, I'm not gonna, I'm done. I'm not gonna do do other stuff, which speaks to where I was asking the first time, like, where are your parents? Like, there's a lot of decisions that I wanted to make that I don't make to this day because of my mother.
Wow.
It's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the disappointment. I don't want to hear, why did you do that?
Speak on it.
I don't want to hear any of that. And it's, yeah, you can block them out, but, my mom ride or die for me and I ride or die for her. So I don't want to hear it. And that's how I operate my life. Like, that's kind of my gauge. So I think it's the same thing. Whereas Evan, felt like because he said he lost his life over $65.
Yeah, over some BS, over just like, one second, life comes at you fast and his life has changed.
Right. So yeah, it's definitely a compare and contrast, because Evan, Tommy later on said at the end of the show, where if it wasn't for all those events, he probably wouldn't be a cop.
Yeah.
So he's, he probably wouldn't have served. Evan apparently introduced him to all these things.
I'm sorry, am I the only one who thinks the shark bite thing is weird? But he got bitten by a shark. He had a shark accident.
I don't know how likely that is.
That made him hard. That made him.
Well, come on now.
I guess, people do get bitten by sharks,
if
but
you get bitten by a shark, you would become the biggest P,
Okay.
Yeah, don't front on that.
Don't front on the shark bite.
Can you imagine you lost your arm?
But he didn't.
What would you do?
Tommy didn't lose his arm. Tommy looked like he had all his digits intact. Should have shook that off. Keep walking, fool. Shark bite.
That's easy for some to say when,
Want us to feel sorry for him. Got bitten by a shark. Come on, fool. Stop telling that story.
You're one of those people that say, oh yeah, just give me the gun. I can make it work. And then in the moment that you need to kill somebody, you won't be able to do it.
Oh, no. Thank God I haven't put that in the position.
Well, I'll do it.
All right. I think I pulled the trigger too. Let's get it popping. Bang, bang. Let's go, TK.
Clearly, plays too many video games.
R.I.P. Biggie.
So, now you love. So Tommy hints at the whole thing with Evan, and Evan's the one who brought him to this point. And the thing about the shark bite too is, again, if you guys are watching this, any surfers out there, I don't think there are that many sharks in Venice. Like, as far as, like, if it's in Hawaii or somewhere else, but the fact that he got a shark bite in Venice is...
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, I lived in Venice for 15 years, and I have a lot of friends who surf, but I don't know, like, I just assume sharks are everywhere, and I have no idea why they would have more or less. Can't call it.
Well, there's different water and all this other stuff, okay. But as far as I've heard, there's more shark bites in, like, Hawaii and Australia than there is Venice.
All right.
So...
Yeah, we're going with the shark bite thing, but anyway.
We're gonna roll. We're gonna roll with it. Oh, another thing we should roll with, which I was later upset about, but then they redeemed themselves, was when the two ATF's agents parked, and they both went to the restroom. So I'm looking at Al's like they're both going to the.
That was hilarious.
They're both going to the restroom?
Yeah. Leaving the prisoner alone.
Yeah, this is what's happening right now. And then they redeemed themselves, because that would have been...
But is it a quote redeem or is it a setup, man?
Well, it clearly looked like a setup because we later found out that Agent Lynch had this whole play, so that Evan needed to get killed. Else, essentially, what happened? He told the truth, and then they were able to get the guns and, you know, essentially do all this stuff. Now, let's talk about getting the guns. Kyle with Zoe.
Kyle and Zoe. Zoe's a little fine Latina mama. He was like, yo.
Was she Latina or was she white?
I assumed he was Latina. She was Latina because he said, and correct me if I'm wrong, people out there, that he had a crush on a Spanish teacher or a teacher that was Latina.
Oh, yeah, but doesn't mean that Zoe's white.
No,
or Zoe's Hispanic.
That's what I thought that he liked. He was making that connection.
Well, let me know, because Zoe looked white to me. So
she could be, but I thought that's why he was saying that connection. Do you know what Zoe means?
I think he's doing the connection because of the name, and then he's like, oh, I had hots for my teacher, Zoe, and, you know, you're just as sexy as Zoe, so...
You could be right. See, I thought they were going with the whole theme of, like, everything. There's, like, an interracial relationship. Frank and his old sister. Then you had, what's his name? Kyle flirting with this chick. He was talking about, I had a crush on, my mommy.
Deep. I didn't even see that.
I don't know, right. I see it, people, I go there.
Oh, so you date every color of the rainbow?
Yes. Women. All women.
What's your IG again?
Algie_ Jamaica House Film. Ladies. Thanks for that assist.
Wow.
Good looking, TK. That's what we call as an assist. Thank you.
So, Kyle and Frank are they want to go, essentially the whole thing to this, they found out that Agent Lynch is dirty. So in order to find out that he's dirty, they just did a big bust on the guns. And those guns are supposed to are going to connect them to Lynch. So if they can get the guns and prove it's connected to Lynch, Lynch is going to go down. So Frank and Kyle go in, they're dressed up as...
What kind of workers were they?
I want to say either like electrical or something. I don't know what they're just. They look like, I don't know. They were dressed up as something. Some people in uniform, and essentially they had to get by Zoe because Zoe was the one who's gonna, let them in.
Right.
Because Agent Lynch wasn't in there, which is good. That's the whole point of it. So Kyle turns on the charm and starts charming Zoe, and then Zoe recognizes him from. He saved a baby like 2 months ago, so she recognized him. And good play on Kyle, but it's so terrible because this is the whole thing with everything that's going on with race relations. It's one of those things where you can just use that card in such a negative way.
I was dying when that happened.
Yeah.
You guys, okay, so he's flattering Zoe, and then when she's like, don't you look like somebody, and he's like, what, yo, all black people look alike?
Right.
He totally flips it on her. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious, but it was also like, man, that's...
You gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta use what you gotta use.
So essentially, with that last move, Zoe just wanted to get rid of them because she didn't want to be branded or labeled. So she signs it. They were able to get the guns. The moment that they were able to get the guns over in the safe house. So essentially, Rebecca and Tommy end up kidnapping or taking Evan out because the ATF agents and 2 guys from Black 23 were there to kill Evan because they didn't want Evan talking. So Rebecca and Tommy came at the nick of time. We're able to get Evan, and Frank tells them to go dark because obviously all the ATF is going to look for them and pretty much kill them all. So as Frank and Kyle get the guns, they get a call from Agent Lynch, who we both rewinded a couple times to find out who gave up the location. It might have been Evan, or there could have been a tracker on Evan.
Yeah, I mean, because they were like getting rid of phones and SIM cards and all that, so, but it's obviously they were able to track them.
Right, so, and if you go like 24 style, they could probably go and figure out where they went if they do the satellite.
Yeah, he's ATF, so yeah, he's got access to all that.
Anything's possible. So they find out where they are. Evan, again, runs away from the situation, and as soon as did Frank call him or did Agent Lynch call him? Anyways, one of them calls each other. And Frank was like, I have your guns. And then she's like, well, I have your men. So, we'll have to do a fair trade-off because obviously I know these people are your family and you don't want them killed.
Yeah, Lynch has got Rebecca and Tommy gaffled up. But he's like, yo, I got the guns. So, yeah, we're going to do a swap.
Right. And then Tommy gives a code word. I can't remember what it was. It was like water something.
Yeah, it was too many. Like every word was like a different water thing.
Yeah, so... water stress or something like that. So Tommy gives him a code word, yells it to the phone, and essentially that gives Frank a code for, I don't know how many people are there or something, or the bomb part, I don't know.
They didn't reveal it, but yeah, they didn't reveal it.
There's some code between them that we don't know.
But Frank knows, okay, I need to come in like a suicide bomber,
right.
you know? So he, packs his van with explosives all around the guns and everything. That scene was crazy. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But that was bonkers, though.
Like good bonkers or bad bonkers?
It was just bonkers. Then he got like one string here, one in his mouth. Yeah, I can blow us all up at any time. It was
he
crazy.
Had a string in his mouth? I didn't see a string in his
know,
mouth.
that's what it felt like. He got strings coming from everywhere.
Okay.
Strings coming from his toes. I can blow us up anytime.
So let's backtrack. In reality, Frank just had one string connected to bombs to his index finger.
The trigger, yeah. The string connected to his trigger around his the ring finger. Whatever.
So the ATF agent opens up the Tommy and Rebecca are there, and they're being held at gunpoint. Frank shows up, and the guy opens the back of the truck, and what it looks like is everything is it's attached. His finger's attached to this bomb, and he's like, you either give up my men or give up my people, or we all get blown to smithereens. So Agent Lynch says, you're not going to do that, and he's like, well, you want to make a bet? And turns out he pulls the trigger. Everybody starts running, but it's just a cloud of smoke, which I guess that was what the word was.
Oh, okay. Like that. Maybe that's the code word for like some kind of flashbang distraction device.
Yeah, like how do you know though? Like how many words did they have?
How do we know? How do we know, people? How do we know that?
So I don't know. I told my friend to yell out yellow banana if he ever gets kidnapped. So
okay,
I'm gonna know for sure. Yellow banana. I'm like, oh,
I think there's something else to that. Say that again.
Oh my god. Anyways, so he pulls this thing, and the whole bunch of smoke happens, and then they're able to pull their guns and shoot everybody. And Evan gets shot because the Agent Lynch actually ends up bringing some. I don't know if they were from the cartel or they're from.
One of them looked like cartel. I could be wrong, but like, where did those guys come from?
Yeah, well, they referred south of the border, which could mean anything.
So he's pooling his resources.
Yeah, so it could be somebody who's from the cartel or who's from the good side of south of the border. I don't know. We don't. He was wearing a sheriff badge.
Yeah. We don't know.
We don't know. So essentially, there's a whole shootout, and Frank. Everybody gets not everybody. Most people get shot, which is kind of weird because how are they going to explain this in the paperwork?
It was a mess, but I'm sure they'll find a way.
Because now you're shooting essentially agents from your own force.
Yeah, I guess it all came down getting a big fish, getting lynched. So if they can, wrap it around that, this guy's so dirty, and that's a big catch. And the funny thing about Frank, I don't know, and do I got him wrong? But it seems like he's dealt with some other crooked cops, other gangsters before, and not taking them in just so they can kind of have their street rapport. I almost wondered. Well, no, I guess he wouldn't do that with Lynch because Tommy has a vendetta. I'm sorry. But I was thinking I didn't know necessarily why Frank wanted to take him down so much, but yeah, it makes sense. He's too dangerous.
Well, I think with Frank, he picks and chooses how effective you are, meaning that are you hurting more innocent people than bad people? I think he kind of does not a cause and effect type thing. It's just
cost benefit analysis.
Yeah, a cost benefit. Okay, you're a dirty cop, but are you being dirty and then you're at least giving part of your proceeds to the Boys and Girls Club, or are you being dirty and then you flipping the money and still being dirty?
Right.
I think he kind of looks at all those things, and if you're at the point where you're affecting people, so for instance, Kyle's partner got shot, and he's putting guns back out into the market, and now people that are in his immediate family are getting affected by that, then you need to go. Still,
a very slippery slope.
Well, essentially, he's playing God in some sort of way. So he essentially catches Lynch, and now he's taking him in, and Evan gets shot, and I guess Evan gets shot in the stomach or something.
Poor Evan.
He just wants to look at the waves as he passes away.
He was going to go out as a tragedy anyway. His end was going to be the tragic story. Yeah, so poor Evan gets shot, and then him and his boy Tommy, they make amends. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to accuse you for running out on Luke. It's okay, man. I love you too, man. Just let me watch the waves.
Wow, this gave me a chill with the acting. Wow, that's just really cold in here. Yeah, thanks for that. So Evan dies. Tommy's, sad about it. Now, we fast forward, because we already talked about Tommy. Tommy thanks Evan for, essentially bringing him to the point that he is now. And now it's like one, because it was Tommy, Luke, and Evan. Luke and Evan are dead, and now it's just Tommy to almost carry on that legacy to a certain extent. So now we fast forward to the very end. Kyle gets this, gets the case on Water Sheet or Water something, and he finds out.
Real quick, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is it Water Street? I just happened to see this too, so.
Water Street.
Water Street?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go with what you said. Water Street. So he comes in and he's still upset at Frank because there's nothing, he sees that there's nothing that he can bring to Lockhart. So Frank tells him to dig deeper. And essentially, Frank says that, look who signed off on the project, and he realized that it's Lockhart who signed off on the project. And there's this whole, the backstory with that particular case, Water Street, is that there's this guy by the name of Teflon, and Billy plants a dirty gun on him in order to send him away because he was way more harm than good, and even in the ghetto and all this other stuff, he was bad for the people there. So the person who signed off on that was Lockhart. So essentially, Frank says, stop reacting and start instigating, which I kind of actually like. Okay. So essentially, he's kind of giving Kyle the benefits of yeah, Lockhart wants you to do this, but realize that there's a reason that she wants you to do that, and maybe you need to take a closer look at all the other players.
Frank's got that game rigged. He sees like 3 moves ahead.
Right. But that's the thing, though. My thing is Frank involved? I have a feeling that Frank is involved in the death. And he probably knows what, he's sending him on this chase where it's almost like you send the child out into the wild and you see if he can slay all these things. In the end, the person already has the answer.
Yeah, he's like leaving them little breadcrumbs.
Which is frustrating. Obviously, I know there would be no show if he didn't, but it's just kind of like.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me thinks, yeah, we go back to the Franks, like the classic anti-hero, bad guy with a good heart, though, but he doesn't do everything that's everything he does is not totally devoid of selfishness.
Right.
Including manipulating, Kyle. That's just the part that doesn't sit well with me. And he's using him because he wants to find out what happened to his pops.
Right.
That just bothers me.
But then the thing is, too, like you said, if it's true, and it seems like it is, while he's, giving Kyle these breadcrumbs, he's also having Kyle essentially bury himself in all the dirty work as well.
Getting dirtier and getting dirtier,
so
exactly.
So now he can't, when he finds out the truth, he can not hate Frank because now he's done all the stuff essentially his father had did.
He's going to be knee-deep as all of them.
Right. So that
training day.
For somebody who's like Kyle, who's so like squeaky clean, that might send him over the edge, though.
Well, we're finally getting to like his arc. There's hints of that. Okay, yeah, classic squeaky clean cop becomes dirty, but that makes his character obviously just more interesting to me.
Right.
What it changes him into.
We'll find out.
We'll see.
Predictions.
Kyle is gonna find out, because this is episode 5, episode 6.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we're starting to circle in on the plot and the big secret. So I think Kyle's gonna find out how Frank was involved a little bit deeper. He knows Lockhart was involved in death, and Frank was there around it. But I think he's gonna find out, maybe Frank's fingers were on the trigger. Who knows?
Right.
Something.
That's all your predictions?
I knew you were gonna say that.
I was just like,
I think she just says that. She just says that's all your predictions. Let's hear yours, TK.
Okay, well, hopefully Kyle gives his wife something.
You said that last week, TK. We know what you're concentrating on.
You're just leaving her just.
That's the only part of the story she cares about.
I'm just saying. I'm just looking out for her. So hopefully Kyle does that, or she shows up in the episode in some way, shape, or form. I definitely think I almost want to fast forward to like either the very end or the second to last episode, because I think that Kyle's gonna find out Lockhart's involvement, and it's gonna come to a point where she's played such a role that he has her almost at gunpoint, and then she's gonna flip and tell him the whole story and how Frank was involved, and now he's at this point where it's a tipping point. Mm-hmm. Because now he's, it's going to be one of those scenes where it's almost going to flash on all the dirty stuff that he did from episode 1 to...
Which they already kind of doing. They're already flashing back on everything he's done. Oh, I got one more prediction for you. Since you wanted some more.
Second one.
Got to put in the second one. I predict Kyle is going to have an affair. Because we're talking about, I alluded to this before, you know, how his character is changing, his arc, he's becoming more and more corrupt and willing to go to extreme lengths. I think that's going to show up in his marriage. He's going to cheat on his wife. I think Rebecca. And Tommy's going to get salty about it. I kind of see that. All right, you guys don't see, like, I'm going on the record. Rebecca and Kyle cheating on his wife.
It might be his wife cheats on him, which she needs to do.
See, I know where your mind's at.
Which she needs to do.
Oh!
So we're gonna see what happens next week. Obviously, every episode is just kind of almost like a total package. So we don't know what characters are gonna be introduced. Although there was a couple characters in episode 1 and 2 that I felt were gonna come back. Like there's that chick that I think in episode 1. Where she double-crossed somebody, they thought she was dead and she's no longer dead. So, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that characters like that, even though I can't remember
and
her
the assassin chick?
Yeah, like characters like that come around. It'll be very Marvel and DC if they all come in one episode.
And no Moreno this week.
Yeah, no Moreno this week. So, yeah, this episode was interesting. I did like it better than 2 episodes ago. Last week's episode was pretty good, too. But yeah, I think next week for sure you're gonna get even more breadcrumbs of Lockhart, and we're gonna see how she plays a role into that. And then also Kyle's gonna use that information that he got to bring it to Lockhart, and it's gonna put her in a position where she almost might start leaving breadcrumbs for him to find out how Frank was involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna turn into one of those things like they all have so much dirt on each other. It's like who's gonna flip on who's gonna side with who.
And it's also, I don't know if they mentioned that, because obviously we know Billy, Frank, and Lockhart work together, and Lockhart did make mention of Alfonso from the movie, but she didn't make mention of how he played a role. Like, did she just know of him, or did she interact with him, or was she on a squad? So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, if they're going to bring it up again. Obviously, they brought it up in the first episode to tie, but we'll see how that all happens. But if you guys have any predictions or have any comments on anything that we left off, please leave all your comments on AfterBuzz TV, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. And that is our show for tonight.
That's our show.
Next week we will have young Camel Toe back in with us.
The ladies will be watching when we have young Camel Toe back.
Well, I mean, you did give out what's your Instagram again?
Algie _ Jamaica House Film, and you can follow me at SoundClash Cine.
Wow. Yeah, so we're gonna find out what young Camel Toe has been up to these last two weeks, and you can follow me at TK Trinidad on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Let us know what you think. But thank you for hanging out with us. Really appreciate it. We will see you next week.
Yep.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.